All right. All right. Hello, everybody. Hello. All right. So we're about to begin the bingo activity. But first, before we actually begin and we let y'all do the bingo, and then of course with our ending closing notes for the night, I'm going to give it to Matt from Pocketworlds to talk about the importance of networking. Let's get a round of applause.
I'm the head of people at a small gaming studio here in Austin called Pocketworlds. It's probably best described as a social MMO. It's a hyper creative digital space where we really focus on like creative self-expression. It's like very fashion forward, heavy leaning into avatar customization with a lot of like deep social layering. It's a game called High Rise. You may have heard of it, you may not have. We have about 100,000 daily active users. We have about 700,000 monthly active users. A couple millions of registered users. I'm not going to go too much into it. We're actually going to be here tomorrow as well. I'm bringing one of my lead product designers and lead game developers to talk about what they do, a bit more about the company, the product itself. If you're interested, check it out. We'll be here 6:30 to 7:30 tomorrow. Not in this room, but here at GDC². I am here. A big part of the reason why I'm here is I'm connected with Paul Toprak. He has become a colleague in a way. We've developed a rapport over the past year, and we'll occasionally go out and get lunch together and talk about the industry, talk about what's going on in the game development capstone classes, talk about what's going on at Pocketworlds and the greater industry at large. And it's just become this kind of natural thing that it was cool to get to know him. He's plugged into a lot of industry himself, and he wanted me to come here to speak to you guys just because I guess I was courting him in some sense, buying him beers and food. So that's kind of what networking can be at some sense, and it should feel like this natural progression. And you'll hear me talk about relationship development or cultivating relationships. They're pretty synonymous. I think that networking is, I remember being in your shoes. I remember being in college. I remember being a senior. I remember freaking out. I didn't know what the hell I was going to do afterwards. And I also remember that networking was always one of the most talked about things. It was the least explained thing, and still arguably one of the most important things that you can start doing or getting comfortable with, rather. Another quick aside, I think that it's going to become more and more important to develop these soft skills. I think the industry as a whole, there's a pendulum swing where the value of really specialized technical skills is starting to get leveled out a bit with the advent of these AI tools that we're able to use day to day, and that can handle a really technical processes pretty quickly, like a layman. I use Claude every day. I have no business using Claude, and I do. So I think that the importance and the value of soft skills and being able to communicate with people, having emotional intelligence, being able to respect people's time and just understand how to articulate your feelings in a succinct way that people can understand is a really valuable thing. I think it can open up a lot of doors for opportunity. And I do think that those are going to become more valuable as we continue down this path of AI taking the burden of a lot of technical tasks. I think there's probably a longer time horizon that we're going to wait before it's going to be able to replicate like a face-to-face interaction to where you wouldn't be able to tell it's a robot or an algorithm doing it. So there's a little bit more time before people's skills are taken over too. Anyway, next slide, please. Quick disclaimer. I told you what I did. I never studied this stuff. I never followed any strict regiment. I never read any kind of playbook or developed a strategy to execute against. I never did any of those things. And I'm honestly I'm kind of dumb. I'm not even the smartest person in the room most of the time. And that's okay. You don't have to be to be able to develop people skills and be able to talk, just get comfortable talking to people. And really everything that I did was learning from doing it wrong, feeling really vulnerable, feeling really uncomfortable. I didn't really prioritize this until I was a senior about to graduate. And that's okay. It's, if you think you're behind and you're just because you're about to graduate and you haven't really put any effort into networking or meeting people or talking to industry, it's okay. It's start now. That's kind of the message. But anyway, not a learned professional, I would feel like a charlatan trying to tell you that I'm some specialist in this. I'm not. I'm a regular person that kind of figured out how to do things the hard way, and it's worked out. And here are some things that have worked for me along the way that I don't think people really talk about that are true, regardless of how you want to organize your strategy of approaching this. Next slide. Quick reframe. I think a lot of people get this kind of wrong, where they think that networking is like, you're asking somebody for something. It's like a transactional thing that you're engaging with another person. You only do it when you need something. It's a strategy to execute, like I spoke about earlier. But I think that like and this is true sometimes. I don't want to say that that's like not what it is. And I think it can be that when done properly and in the right context. But I think a good, like healthy way to approach it, if it's new to you and it feels like scary and uncomfortable, it's very much like repeated exposure over time. And you're just trying to allow people to get comfortable with you. You are trying to allow yourself to get comfortable speaking with other people. That is the name of the game, essentially. And building familiarity really is what creates opportunity. I don't think that the majority of opportunity comes from people going up to others and making really grandiose asks of them before they have established any rapport. Like a lot of opportunity, and I can speak to my own life, comes from meeting people, like making friends, making connections, and then somewhere down the road, somebody that's connected to somebody else who's connected to somebody else that I know has some problem or is looking for somebody that has a specific skill. And they remember that they have a friend that knows somebody, or they remember that they know somebody who can do this. It might be worth approaching. That's kind of how, it's more of a trickle effect versus an instant, I'm asking for something and I'm getting something back immediate. That doesn't happen often. It happens sometimes, but instant gratification is probably not the right approach. At least I don't think that that's how you should approach it to set yourself up for maximum success anyway. Next slide, please. Get a sip of water. I think this is probably the most important slide. And this is something you may already be aware of. I think we all are inherently. Discomfort is the entry fee. It's always kind of vulnerable. It's always a little uncomfortable. It always feels a little weird to approach somebody that you don't know, that you are interested in. You want to get to know them better, but you don't know if they like you. There's so many different things going on when we're putting ourselves in these vulnerable positions. But that's like, there's no way around this. Discomfort is the cost of participation. And that is an important thing to one, recognize, but just like accept and like make peace with. And I think that a big like misframe that a big trap that people can fall into is this notion of like, if you feel uncomfortable or it feels kind of weird or it feels kind of bad, then you're doing something wrong. It's just not true. It really is like putting yourself in those uncomfortable positions is what generally drives growth. And it's true for exercising. It doesn't feel great to go run 10 miles or like lift a shit ton of weight. Like it's cool maybe sometimes, but it's like it's uncomfortable. And the growth comes from the recovery stage. Obviously, the caveat to this is like, don't put yourself in any life or death situations. Like if you're at the zoo and there's a tiger cage and you're thinking that it would probably be pretty uncomfortable to get in the cage with the tigers. Not the same thing. That's not a good thing to do. So like using common sense, but like in a general sense, it's going to be uncomfortable putting yourself in a vulnerable position, meeting people. You don't want to waste anybody's time. All of these things are true. You kind of are interrupting somebody. You risk being ignored, being forgettable, risk rejection, them not really, having anything or caring or being interested in a conversation. And that's okay. If it feels awkward, you're doing the thing, and that's a good sign. Next slide. It's kind of like dating in the sense, you know how it feels if you're going up to a cute guy or cute girl and like they're definitely not into you, but it sucks. But it's like it's worth doing the thing. You gotta put yourself out there. You gotta go talk to people, and you have to be okay with it. It's like there's so many outcomes. There's so many different things that correlate to an outcome that you cannot control, like timing, chemistry. You can't control anybody's specific response. It probably matters. Like you could get so granular as to say, like what you ate for breakfast or like what the other person ate for breakfast like 3 days ago probably has some ripple effect into like how they're feeling in that moment and the response that you're going to get. So like trying to like account for every variable, you will lose your mind. It's dumb. Don't do it. So there's just a lot of things that like you don't have control over a lot of stuff. And this is one of my favorite quotes. I cannot for the life of me remember who actually said it. I think I heard it like 10 or 15 years ago. I was listening to a lot of podcasts. I think I was in college. It's probably like Ram Dass or some like Buddhist teacher. I was really into that at the time. And it's very true. It's like we as humans, we have full agency and the right to take like any specific action that we want to take. We do not have the right to dictate how the world responds to us. And that's a very like mature and a very kind of sobering message to reckon with or to learn. And for me, it kind of, I kind of had to learn the hard way of wanting things to always work out or having like main character syndrome and just expecting things to work out the way that I want them to. It's just not true. You can't decide how the world's going to respond to you, but you have the right to take whatever action you want. And I think it's still, that being said, it's still worthwhile to do all the preparation that you want to like set yourself up for the highest potentiality of success. Still do all those things. It's just, we cannot expect specific outcomes. It's just not how life works. Next slide. This is another common misconception too. It's like, it's really easy to fall into the trap to think that like all your friends and colleagues and coworkers or whatever, like don't get uncomfortable and that you are the only one that feels weird and awkward. It's not true. It's like everybody's uncomfortable. It's always weird going up and talking to somebody new. It's such a human thing. And I'm gonna keep driving that point throughout this talk because I think it's not talked about enough. And it's like, it's so relevant to this relationship building and networking in general. Nobody wants to waste time. Nobody wants to look stupid. You're not bad at it. You're just a human. Everybody feels weird. My background before I moved into like running an HR org is recruiting. We as recruiters, we still feel awkward sometimes. Seniors feel awkward. Professors feel awkward. It's a very normal thing. I think I'm almost certain when I started like reaching out and talking to Paul, I'm sure he was probably like, who's this weird guy like trying to talk to me and like take me out to lunch? But like, here we are, it can go somewhere and that's okay. It's just a part of the thing. Yeah, next slide. This is the cringiest title of any slide that I have, but I think it's very true. And it's like, I don't really know any other better way to say it. It really does start with hello. There's like so many low stake openers that you can use to just kind of open up the door for a conversation with somebody, whether it's industry or whatnot, somebody that you're interested in getting to know. Dating, whatever. I think it is probably a general good rule of thumb to like start with something that you know that they have worked on or they're associated with in some way, and just ask them about it. It's like, hey, you're working in this industry. I'm really interested in this, or I saw you worked for this company, or you worked on this product, or you worked on this game. I think it's really cool. I'm into this too. Very good openers that kind of allow the other person to start sharing information. So you don't have to feel like you're running some script that you've processed and it feels mechanical. And I know it might be common sense to say, but you'd be surprised how many people like screw this up. And so it's really easy to find a small thing in common, or just be honest, be like, hey, I don't really know what's going on, but I just wanted to come say hi. Like that's totally fine to do as well. But coming with like big grandiose asks is generally not the best approach. A big pitch sometimes, and I don't want to say that that's like not the right thing to do in some context. I do think that is appropriate sometimes, but the majority of the time, I think it's easier to start developing these type of relationships with a lower stakes, just kind of mutual, genuine, curious intro or opening question or statement to somebody that you're trying to network with. And I do like this, it's really the goal of like the first interaction's not like obtaining an opportunity. It's really like permission to continue to develop that relationship. If I'm going to say this in a much more fluffy way, permission for a second interaction. You want somebody to be comfortable with you approaching them again after you follow up and like maintaining that rapport and developing it further. Next slide. So there are some things you can own that are quite easy. Owning all the inputs. You can show up. You can say hello, you can follow up, be curious, be respectful for people's time. We've talked about some things that you can't control, whether they reply, they're interested, the timing is right, whether they remember you. I think that there and I can put myself in this position because I've been to some career fairs here at UT, and some students kind of get this wrong in the sense that, at the last career fair, I think I was at McCombs, it's very, very busy. I think I probably talked to 300 students in the course of 2 days. And a ton of them, they're in their business professional outfits. They look great. They're coming up, they're excited. They got big smiles. They have their resumes in hand. And they'll come up to you, or they come up to me, and they will read their entire resume, like bullet point by bullet point, everything that they've done and all their accolades and accomplishments. And by the end of it, I've forgotten their name. I've already completely forgotten the name. And it's like I see the line of like 20, 30 students behind them. And it's like my brain is like, I got to keep moving on. I kind of have to get out of this and keep going because there's, so many more people to talk to. But the conversations that I remember and the people that I still follow up with, they came up and they were just like, hey, you got this funky looking booth. You're next to Stryker and KPMG and you have like iPads with a game on it. Who the hell, what the is going on? And that's it was really fun and just like earnest curiosity. And we'll have a conversation. I'll tell them more about what we're going on. Then I start to learn more about what they do. And it's a much more a natural progression into remembering somebody and developing some rapport. Next slide, please. This is important too. I think about confidence a lot, and I think confidence really with anything, most things in life, it comes from just repetition. There's few ways you can just get around that. And the way that I kind of frame confidence is not this heightened state of activation, I am the most confident person ever, and I feel so good and I feel so high right now, I'm gonna crush this. Sometimes yes, but true confidence to me is more of this second nature. It's second nature. You're not thinking about it. It's just this instinctive response that can flow out of you because you've done it so many times before. And it's almost a very emotionally neutral state of being or state of mind, not in a bad way either. It's you look at animals, not the ones that we domesticate like house cats and dogs. They can be super neurotic and weird in the best way. But you look at wild animals and how decisive all of their actions are. It's just they know exactly how to respond to every single stimuli that happens to them. And I think of real confidence, as human beings, we can train that as well. And again, it's just this constant repetition of driving this action into our being to where we don't have to think about it. And it's just this very, very natural, fluid thing that exchange that comes out of us. If you've never done this before, the first 10 times you go up and talk to somebody in the industry because you want to get to know them, it's probably going to feel real bad or weird. It's going to continue to feel awkward for a long time. It's going to eventually become neutral. And I think that, again, neutrality is not a bad thing. It's that's a good place to be. It really is. Maybe for every 30 interaction, you'll have a really positive one, maybe 20. We'll call it that. And that's cool too. When you feel that, you lean into it and you really enjoy those moments when you have these super positive exchanges of energy with people and maybe you do obtain an opportunity and you do get a win. That's awesome. Lean into it. Just don't expect it because it's probably not going to happen too often. And that's okay. The win, again, it's not the response that you're getting. It's that you felt this resistance and you're training yourself to do it anyway, to be okay with feeling uncomfortable. It's such an important lesson. And yes, it's relevant to networking, but it's really relevant to pretty much every facet of life in general, is a first principle of that nature. Feeling resistance and doing it anyway. Next slide, please. We talked about this. I'll cover this, very quickly. I think, again, probably on this slide, the most important thing to remember is most of the time, not all the time, people really remember how you make them feel. They're not remembering what you're asking of them. They're not going to remember your entire resume if you're reading it off to them. They may remember some interesting thing that if you share some knowledge that they didn't have, but really we are very energetic beings. And, I don't want to get too woo or existential in any kind of way, but it's it's true. We respond to stimuli, we feel it, we, compartmentalize it or process it. And that's just patterned into how you show up for the rest of your day. We really respond to how we make each other feel. And so some good things to keep in mind when you want that to be neutral or positive is having genuine curiosity, coming up with thoughtful questions, following through, respecting people's time, I think that is huge. Just having some like awareness of how many more people that they may need to be talking to, or how, how big is the line, or whatever's going on. If you can start to see their eyes flitting around and like they're getting antsy, probably a good signal to like, okay, maybe I need to kind of wrap this up and move on. In the most eloquent way that you can do that. So they remember how you make them feel. Try not to be too desperate, over-explain too much, impress anybody, make any hard asks too early. I think those don't land as well as people just being genuine, like earnest, vulnerable, and really curious. So, next slide, please. Why this matters? There's a lot of reasons, but over time, just kind of like interest, your career starts to compound. And the connections that you make early on, they will also start to grow exponentially, and you'll be a part of this greater network that continues to grow and spread. Once you start building that, you'll notice at some point in your life, you will probably be in a position where you've built out this web, a signal gets sent from this side of it down to this side, you happen to be on this side of the web, and you get pinged. And that might be in the form of a job or an opportunity or another connection. And that's a really cool thing to happen. And it really can only happen if you start putting yourself out there and talking to people, meeting people, building relationships, networking. A lot of these opportunities that you're going to experience are usually the result of small ones that you made early on. And the best part of this is like, you don't have to be good at it right now. I told you that I didn't take this seriously at all until I was like a senior in college. Again, kind of just freaking out because I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And I had like 2 months to graduation. It's like, shit, I should probably start meeting people, I guess, and figuring that out. So you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be good at it. I think it's just really important to start doing it now to the best of your ability and the best of your effort. Like, try to make an effort to start now. The earlier, the better. It will compound over time. So if I have to summarize it, last thing on that is like, all of this has been pretty hypothetical. I know we're at GDC². There's a lot of industry people that are going to be like attending these events that you guys have in this building for the next 2 days. Try to apply some of this. It's all just been kind of information that I'm speaking about, but this is a real opportunity. You have an opportunity in front of you. This is an amazing event that EGaDS puts on with GDC and the rest of all the organizers, really cool sponsors, real industry people that are here. If you're interested in game dev or whatever, they're here. They're here for the next, 24, 48 hours, something to that effect. Doesn't matter. They're here. So like, I implore you, like, go try this stuff. Like, go be bad. Go mess it up. Go feel real weird and awkward, and like be really bad. But make it out like that's where it starts. And if I have to summarize pretty much everything that I've talked about, the only advice that I have is like, go up, say hello, expect nothing, and just keep doing it. Do it again. So that is my time. That's pretty much, that summarizes the message of what I wanted to convey. I hope this makes sense. I hope it's approachable. I didn't want it to feel too tactile and prescriptive of like, you need to be doing this, sending 1,000 emails every week, 1,000 LinkedIn connections. This stuff is much more human. Nobody really talks about this side of it too often, at least not from what I've experienced. So I think it's worthwhile mentioning, and it's okay being uncomfortable. It's okay being vulnerable. It's okay things not working out. And you shouldn't wait around for like a guarantee before you make an action. I think that if we all waited for something to be a guarantee before we took an action to obtain it, there would be so much less good art. There would be probably no good music. There'd be so many less good companies, no good games, no good products. There's only like very few certainties and guarantees in life. And it's like, those are going to come when they come. Like try to do some shit in the meantime of consequence and enjoy it. So anyway, thank you.